participate in this new format of the April conference. It's been a really fun week, and I think we've all learned a lot. So I hope you learned something from this presentation today as well. With that, we'll go ahead and get into the meat of the presentation. JOELL and Kate, I'll introduce JOELL and Casey in a little bit too. JOELL is an independent living specialist from Wyoming Independent Living. She works out of the Cheyenne office. And Casey is an independent living specialist also from Wyoming Independent Living who works out of the Laramie office. And they're going to talk a little bit about how they work together from the different offices with consumers from across the state. I first have to start with a disclosure that the contents of this presentation were developed under a grant from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. NIDLR is a center within the Administration for Community Living and the Department of Health and Human Services. The contents and opinions expressed reflect those of the authors, that's us, and are not necessarily those of the funding agency and should not assume endorsement by the federal government. All right, we got that out of the way. Today's presentation, we want to talk to you a little bit about the Partners for Healthy Community Living project, which is actually a research project that we've been working on for a couple of years. That includes working with the Living Well in the Community program, which is part of our even larger program, the Healthy Community Living, which I presented a little bit on Tuesday. So hopefully you got to see that presentation to get a bit of background. But this is sort of within the Healthy Community Living program, kind of. We'll talk a little bit about the project's goals and vision, how your CIL might get involved if that's something that interests your organization. And then we'll hear from Casey and JOELL about their experiences and how they connected with their consumers from across their state online for a Living Well in the Community workshop. So first of all, the Partners for Healthy Community Living, the purpose is to improve the health and community living capacity of rural people with disabilities. And the goal is to expand the delivery of Living Well in the community, which is part of the Healthy Community Living program, through online workshops hosted by Centers for Independent Living. We will support, so we're supporting Centers for Independent Living in building or growing their workshop programming to include Living Well in the community and allow them to reduce geographical barriers and transportation barriers by offering it online using Zoom, which I think all of you are probably getting really great at Zoom by now. So Healthy Community Living is a series of workshops for people with disabilities, which includes group discussions on topics relevant to their lives. Facilitators present slides from the Healthy Community Living website directly to consumers, and this can be done either in person, online, or some combination of both. If the workshops focus on quality of life, building self-determination, relatedness, autonomy, and building supports. They also foster peer connections in an independent living setting. And we weren't exactly sure how this would go on Zoom, if people would pick it up or if it would still kind of foster that same peer connection. But so far, people have been really enjoying the program and also finding a lot of peer support on Zoom, which is really exciting. I also put the logos here on this slide, including our partners at the bottom here. You'll see the Partners for Healthy Community Living, the Healthy Community Living and Community Living Skills, Living Well in the Community, and the facilitating groups. I put all of these on here to sort of help you see that all of these are sort of a suite of different programs that are connected to the Healthy Community Living program. And this project specifically is focusing on conducting Living Well on Zoom. So which programs make up Healthy Community Living? So Healthy Community Living includes 2 peer-led workshops, Community Living Skills and Living Well in the Community. It also has a facilitating groups training, which is really just a training intended to help IL staff bolster their facilitation skills and learn to facilitate groups effectively. We also will be having Working Well with a Disability added to Healthy Community Living in January of 2021. So that's coming up soon, so watch for that. Living Well in the Community is an 11-week program within Healthy Community Living, And for more information on all of this, you can visit our website, www.healthycommunityliving.com. But living well in the community is focused on setting goals to improve overall quality of life and well-being. It's adapted from our workbook-based program. You might remember the big, thick, spiral-bound workbooks, Living Well with a Disability. But now, instead of using the workbooks, the program is facilitated from a website with program slides, videos, photos, and more. And it can be conducted in person on a large screen or online using Zoom or some combination of both. And you wouldn't have to use Zoom. We chose to use Zoom for this project. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. There's lots of other online programs that can be conducive for online workshops as well. So Living Well participants learn to identify what's meaningful to them and set quality of life goals. They learn to apply problem-solving skills and manage emotions like frustration and discouragement. They discover tools and skills that can make goal achievement easier, like communicating effectively and finding important resources. They also learn to explore ways to improve their overall health by changing daily habits and practice advocacy to help make changes to support them and others. Living Well in the Community workshops, it includes 11 weeks. And so each week is about a 2-hour session. And the different workshop topics include an orientation, goal setting, building support, healthy reactions, staying on course, healthy communication, seeking information, eating well, physical activity, advocacy, and maintenance. And here I have some photos of people participating in their community, a mother and son getting ice cream from an ice cream truck, some people doing adaptive yoga, a man wheeling through the airport, and a woman exiting paratransit in her manual chair. This is just a quick preview of what the website looks like for Living Well in the Community. So you actually would click on one of these buttons, like for goal setting, and then that's what it would open up to give you the slides to present to your group. So this is just a quick preview of what's on the website. And then with online workshop delivery. So with the onset of COVID-19, we shifted focus from in-person delivery of workshops to online workshops hosted on Zoom. And there's, like I said before, there are many other online platforms available that are paid or for free, including Google Meet and Microsoft Teams. We were most familiar with Zoom, so we felt like we could support people better with Zoom, which is why we chose to go that route. Zoom also allows facilitators to play videos and include audio. So that's a really nice feature for this project specifically, because there are a lot of testimonial videos, and that also provides the audio and closed captioning. And the new Living Well in the Community includes mixed media, lots of videos and photos of real people. So our current partners for this project so far, we have Wyoming Independent Living, which you'll hear from in a little bit, the Montana Independent Living Project, Future Choices in Muncie, Indiana, Access 2 in Missouri, and Disability Partners in Asheville. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all these centers who were kind enough to get on Zoom with us and work through this program with their consumers. It's been a lot of fun, and we're hoping to get more Centers for Independent Living to join us. Next, Casey and Joelle are going to share their experiences. They are IL specialists at Wyoming Independent Living. They were the first facilitators within our project team to recruit consumers and conduct a Living Well in the Community workshop online with consumers from across the state of Wyoming. So not everyone was in the same town. And they did this with 10 consumers for 11 weeks, and they met once a week. Casey and Joelle also work in separate offices, so I think this was a really nice example of how you can kind of combine some different staff members who maybe haven't worked together before at satellite offices. And it provided them an opportunity to connect with each other and different consumers within their service area. They worked with a group of 10 using iPads. or their own personal computers to log on to Zoom and participate in an 11-week Living Well in the Community workshop. And the workshops were hosted weekly for about 2 hours. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to JOELL. And JOELL is going to tell us a little bit more about how they did this, how they recruited consumers on Zoom, how they got people to participate, and what it was like conducting Living Well in the Community from across the state. All right, JOELL, you're up.
Thank you, Janice. I'm so excited to be here today. A little nervous, but very excited to talk to you all about this program. I am JOELL Austin. I'm an independent living specialist out of the Cheyenne, Wyoming office in Wyoming. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am a gray-haired 51-year-old female. My hair is kind of curly today. Sometimes it's not. I am in my home office today, which is my home office, my craft room, my dressing room. So there's a lot of undone craft projects in my background. There's some makeup table. And so it's just an all-around purpose room with a bunch of junk in it. So I want to really start out by explaining how Wyoming, explaining a little bit about Wyoming independent living. We serve the area of eastern Wyoming. We have 16 counties we service. We have 10 independent living specialists within 5 centers. And then we have 1 independent living specialist who works directly out of his home. He doesn't have a center. But these centers are spread out from our most northern center to our most southern center. There is a 350-mile spread. So there's lots of land to cover, so those geographic barriers are definitely there. Within my county that I cover Laramie County, myself and 1 other independent living specialist. We cover the most populous county. However, it is the most populous county in Wyoming. It is the least populous of the most populous counties in the nation. So we're the last most populous county in the nation, if that makes sense. So our geographical barriers are definitely there. We have about 2,600, 2,700 square miles that 2 of us have to cover. And so then in working with Casey in this program, Casey and I are 50 miles apart in different centers, and we are the closest centers out of all the centers in East with Wyoming independent living. So there's definitely a lot of miles in between us, if not, we don't have the most populous areas, but we do have a lot of miles to cover. So Casey and I we had worked together prior. We had partnered to do the community living skill workshop. And so we were traveling once a week to each other's centers, and that we face many barriers because a lot of the times the interstate or the roads between the 2 of us are closed, not only for winter weather, but sometimes just for wind. So it was kind of hard to, sometimes we just had to do it in our own centers to get to each other and partner the way we wanted to. So when this opportunity came up, we had already started, well, COVID had come around, and we had already, with Wyoming independent living, because of our geographical barriers, we had begun working with Zoom already. We had some advocacy groups that were meeting via Zoom, and we had meetings, staff meetings and things like that we were doing via Zoom. And then when COVID hit, we felt pretty good because we had already started the Zoom process and we knew about it. So we were reaching out to our individual consumers in our areas directly. And then when this opportunity came about to do Living Well in the Community over Zoom, we really were excited about that because we wanted to start doing these, seeing how activities would go online and see if we could get some more interest in our activities. So when we began the process, and we had also talked about too, we wanted to get into more technology for our consumers, and we wanted to maybe do that by purchasing some loaner iPads or things like that. So we started the process, and we decided we were going to do this partner with RTC and do these classes over Zoom. We decided to email flyers. We did a flyer, and we emailed them to our current consumers. We sent them out to community partners, and that was getting some feedback for us. Then we also decided, and I think this is a really important part to note, that Casey and I didn't just do this alone. We have a really great IL team throughout Wyoming Independent Living. So they began the process with their current consumers or any new consumers that they were talking to. And they began talking to our consumers, their consumers in their areas about this program and telling them about what it, how good it was, what it would offer, and kind of started that relationship for Casey and I, so that they would trust that Casey and I, were here for their benefit and then this was a worthwhile program. So we also posted this event on Facebook. Once we had people that were interested, showed their interest on Facebook, we did contact them directly. This wasn't as, it got people to know that what we were doing, the activity was out there, the event was going to happen. But the most of the people that were interested or showed interest on Facebook were not in our service area. So unfortunately, we couldn't, register them for the class, the workshops. They weren't in our service area, but that was kind of cool to see how many people were actually noticing our website and brought them to our website so that they could look at our website. So that was a plus in that area. We also, started calling them directly, had Zoom meetings with our consumers that knew about Zoom and begin that process too of how to do the Zoom meetings. Next slide, Tannis, please. So once we had a list, or our other independent living specialists had a list of interested consumers, they gave that list to Casey and myself. So Casey and I divided that list up, and unfortunately Casey, he took on all the tech ones, so he kind of got way more work than I did. So, but we individually contacted each of those consumers, and we talked to them really seriously. We started our relationship with them, and told them we were the facilitators. We kind of told them our strategy on facilitating, which Casey and I have a real similar strategy, so that made it really meaningful. But we began that relationship so they had trust in us, that we weren't, trying to we weren't teaching this class, we were facilitating it. So we wanted them to know that this workshop would be a very meaningful, interactive workshop. And we also talked to them about setting a meaningful goal. We didn't make them set a goal to be eligible for the workshop, but we wanted them to set a meaningful goal as to why they were attending this workshop. And I think that most did. I think maybe one, two of our attendees did not set a meaningful goal directly for the workshop itself. So we also talked to them about any technology needs and any training they needed established. So we talked to them about, we had decided at that time that we were going to purchase some iPads. We were going to, have those, if they needed internet access, with those they would have, minutes of internet app plan for that. And Casey can talk a lot more because he is the one that handled the iPads. But we just wanted to know where they were at, and we wanted to talk to them and set up any training they needed. So we did some individual one-on-one training. We did Zoom training, each of us. We did iPad training. Casey handled most of that. So we wanted them to be familiar with the iPads and, and with Zoom, so that they knew how to log on once that we were at that stage of starting the workshops. I will say one of the things that I do want to point out is that I think things work well when Casey and I train together. One of the points when we are training together that I find most, that I really enjoy with Casey, is that Casey and I are from different generations. So when we are presenting things, even when we are talking to consumers, there is this different generation, but we can both show that we are similar generation, Casey and I. There are some similar things and there are some different things. I think that to our program, Casey and I brought, some of the older from my generation, some of the real life experiences, those type of things. And then Casey always brought the cool. Casey brought the fun and the cool. I always try to be funny. I'm not funny at all, except for in my own mind. But I think that it worked well with Casey and I doing this over Zoom too, is because of that. We both are from different generations, but we both use that to kind of bring that across to our consumers. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Casey to talk about some of the lessons that we learned through this process.
Thank you so much, Joelle. Now I feel I got to live up to the cool. So I'm Casey Schmidt. I am an independent living specialist in Laramie, Wyoming. I'm a 36-year-old white male. My pronouns are he, him. I have a longer beard that's slightly more gray than I noticed yesterday, and glasses. So I really enjoyed working with Joelle on this project, and it was really, really beneficial for the consumers. And so I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about the process, but I also want to make sure that everybody knows that this really, really was super beneficial to the consumers that we worked with. And I attended the April conference last year, and I remember attending a workshop to learn more about community living skills. And so it was a real treat to be able to facilitate it and be here today. So thank you all. So the lessons learned, there were quite a bit of things that kind of came up that we didn't realize. As far as recruitment goes, we did notice that the one-on-one calls worked the best. So being able to actually talk to the consumer talk to them about the orientation session, what they were interested in, how we could help support them in an independent, meaningful goal, independent living meaningful goal. So I took care of working on the iPads and working on those folks who needed assistance with technology. So I sent out I had a consumer that I work closely with. I printed up some instructions with the Zoom meeting ID on it and kind of everything I thought somebody would need. I gave it to them. They gave me some feedback. But in reality, I think I wish we would have been able to have a little bit more time to kind of iron that out with some of the, everybody's starting in a different place. So some folks had never used Zoom. Some folks, the barrier was that they could use Zoom. They just didn't have an iPad. So for about the first half of the workshop, there were technology issues. I was setting weekly meetings with folks to do trainings, to use the sheet. Some folks would lose it, so I'd have to send them another one. So there were just a lot of things that came up that took a lot of time, but I really wanted to be there to support the consumers, to make sure that they felt that they could actually get on the iPad and participate in the workshop. So there was quite a bit of phone calls and trainings and that kind of thing. And as Joelle said, I kind of took all that on, and I think for anybody who is looking to set this up with other consumers, kind of spreading that out with other specialists. And fortunately, we have a great team at Wyoming Independent Living, so I was able to reach out to the independent living specialists in some other areas that folks were attending, and they were able to help out with some of the iPad troubles. So again, like Joelle said, it really was a team effort. We didn't do this alone. So I worked with, I contacted our state assisted technology to see what they used. They used iPads and how their program works and what's going to work for us. The iPad setup did take quite a bit of time. I wanted to make sure that we could track the iPads. So each we have like a host iPad. All of the locations are shared to that one, so we could always track them. It's one of those cool features about iPads and Apple products. But the process to do that took a little bit of time and a lot of calls to Apple tech support. And then also mailing them. I talked with our executive director, Amy Burns, to figure out what's going to be best. So when we mailed them out to consumers, they also has a return box. So when they're done with the iPads, they can just put that in the box and ship it back to us if a specialist couldn't pick it up. So that we had to push back. There were some delays in shipping, kind of things happen. COVID pushed everything back a little bit. So it took a lot of time to get them set up. So the only advice is that the hard part, I think, really was getting it set up and getting them in the hands of the folks who were going to need to use them. Technology training and Zoom training would have worked better in a group setting. So what I kept noticing is I would get calls. We were doing ours on Thursdays at 1 o'clock, but I started to get calls at like 12 o'clock saying, hey, I'm having this problem. I can't get on. This is what's going on. And the individual trainings were giving people the confidence to join the group. But I think it would have been better to try to join. We have some other online activities. We have a peer support and then an advocacy group that Joelle leads. I think it would have been better to help somebody like on the phone join those groups rather than that way we could have kind of ironed out some of the details before we got to the actual group that we were presenting. So I think that would have been a little bit better. It was a little stressful, so I just kind of tried to help the best I could. One of the best things that we've done is Google Voice. So we all have Google Voice numbers. So it's like an internet you can call over the internet kind of thing. So we all have those on our phones. But what was actually really nice is after talking with several consumers, they were used to using Zoom for telehealth and various appointments that they would have to have. But the issue is that they were getting those appointments and Zoom links text to their phone. So the Google Voice was nice because if somebody really couldn't find their login information or something like that, we were able to I could just text it to them. And again, it's not from my personal number, it's from a different number. So it worked out really well. That was helpful. And to get The other thing that Joel mentioned is that the iPads did have data on them, so folks didn't have to worry about like logging onto Wi-Fi or getting internet or anything like that. And so that was definitely, you know, that part of it, the front end of getting it all set up and making sure we can track the iPads, that, you know, that took a lot longer than expected. Okay, next slide. So some of the lessons that we learned in the workshop, we wanted to make sure consumers and anyone who attended felt comfortable. And so we wanted to set some kind of privacy rules and ground rules and saying, like, you know, what's talked about in the workshop is, you know, don't talk about it outside of the workshop unless it's with, you know, a specialist or, you know, another participant, but really just wanted to make sure people felt supported, that it was, because, you know, if we were doing this in person, it'd be a little different. So we just wanted to try to get some of those kind of maybe natural safety barriers in a Zoom setting. So we came up with the ground rules. You know, if you need to leave the meeting, turn your camera off, turn your, you know, mute your microphone, things like that. Be respectful, use the raise your hand features, kind of all the stuff that, you know, I feel like at this point, a lot of people in Zoom meetings will discuss at the beginning, but we wanted to make sure that people who haven't attended Zoom meetings are getting that kind of courtesy and like learning how to use that platform. So we did send out all the worksheet information ahead of time, and along with like the Zoom login, but I think sending out the ground rules would have been helpful as well. We did go over the rules at the beginning of the first couple sessions, but we figured, well, you know, we don't need to do that now. It's okay, like after the third or fourth session, but really looking back on it, it is helpful to make sure to share those at the beginning, just to go over all the ground rules, just to make sure that, and we did say, like, another one was, you know, please keep the information that we're talking relevant to the workshop. So that way, if things started to get off topic, we could say, hey, please remember, you know, keep this. And so it just kind of helped facilitate, and also just made it a little smoother. As Joel said, so we switched facilitator and co-facilitator roles every week. Joel and I have a very similar style, and I think that works really well together. But it was also really nice if you had a tough session, you could be the tech support the next one. And so that way everybody's kind of getting a chance to work with the specialist in different ways. And again, to really create that kind of community and let people know that, you know, you can talk to any of us. So it's not just all on one person. So the facilitator was running the slides, and then, so if Joel was facilitating, I'm in the background, you know, checking comments. If anybody's having tech issues, that was nice because I could just turn my screen off, give them a call, or just send them the Google Voice, via Google Voice, the link to the actual workshop. So it really, really helped, kept stress kind of lower and gave everybody a little bit of a kind of a different take. We would still both talk during the workshop, but it was just nice to have one person running it, the other person helping to facilitate, or to co-facilitate, to watch out, to kind of troubleshoot technology. So the main thing that I do want to say is how beneficial this was to all the consumers. Despite all the technology issues and figuring that out, there were folks I worked with who have never used an iPad and were logging onto meetings and talking with people across the state. And I can think of a couple people who are pretty isolated, and this was a great way for them to connect with peers. The peer support was incredible. Really, there were times where Joel and I were just, you know, just sitting back. Everybody, the discussions were incredible. I really can't say enough good things about how it supported consumers. And afterwards, so, you know, after the workshop ended and we were talking with consumers, what I found really striking was that everyone that I talked to gained something from this workshop, applied it to their goal for the workshop, but then they were also using language and things that they learned in the workshop for their next goal or things that they were working on. I talked to a consumer who they said that there's the seeking knowledge learning new resources, that workshop, they use that to actually help them figure out how to get to doctor's appointments out of state, which, I mean, that's a huge thing. A lot of people in Wyoming have to go down to Colorado, and they were able to arrange rides and do all this. And the individual told me that, you know, they didn't talk to their social worker case manager about it. They were just able to do it independently. So really, there has been some incredible things that have come from this workshop. And it was really, I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that, you know, all the technology, all that stuff, all the troubleshooting was 100% worth it. And then now, once folks are done with the iPads, we've just been working on getting them back, and it's been great. So I think that's it. Next slide.
Okay. Thank you, Casey, for talking about, and Joelle for talking about your experiences with living well in the community. I wanted to share our contact information, both for myself, Casey, and Joelle. Please feel free to email us. If you have any questions about the program or about getting workshops started on Zoom at your center, we're happy to help. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of involvement. So Casey and Joelle are part of the Partners for Healthy Community Living project, which is actually a research project. And if it seems like a good fit for your CIL, or if it's something that you are interested in doing, please contact myself or Mary Willard. It's a great way for your SIL to get involved. The SILs involved in Partners for Healthy Community Living have weekly facilitator meetings hosted by us, the RTC Rural, and we discuss successes and challenges and provide peer support to one another. So I think it's also a nice opportunity for independent living specialists to get some peer support and meet other people across the country who are doing what you all are doing. You can also, the SILs who join this project get access to the Healthy Community Living license for free. So we do provide the program to centers who are involved. We do ask that you conduct workshops with groups of consumers, which I think has gone really well so far. And I think this is a really nice way to try something new and feel supported in doing that at your center. It's a nice way to connect with consumers, develop your skills as an IL specialist, and then also develop your workshop facilitation skills. If you're interested in getting involved, please just let me know or contact Mary Willard, who is at April. You can also learn more about Healthy Community Living at our website, which is www.healthycommunityliving.com. I just think this is a really exciting opportunity for consumers to connect over Zoom that may not otherwise connect. So if you're interested, we'd be happy to talk to you more about it. You can also join us at the RTC or Healthy Community Living vendor booth, which is going on, I think, for about the next hour and a half after this presentation. And now I just want to thank everyone so much for listening to our presentation and for joining us here today. We'll turn it over to you all for comments, questions, and reactions. So, all right, let's hear what questions are out there.
Hi, Tennis. This is Arius again. We have one person with their hand raised. I don't know if she's on the phone or not. Taylor, is she on the phone or?
Hi, Arius. Yes. Oh, you know what? I can allow her to talk.
Okay. Patty?
Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and give her permission to talk here momentarily, unless she would like to type it in the chat. Okay, Patty, you're welcome to talk if you'd like to ask your question.
Patty, are you there?
Patty, are you with us? I've requested to unmute you, so you may have to activate that feature on your end.
I believe it's *9.
We can swing back around to you, Patty. We have another person with their hand raised right now. So I know I'm probably not going to do a good job pronouncing this name, so please correct me when you jump on here. Sifakor? I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk if you'd like to ask your question verbally. Sifakor?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we sure can.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tani. Is it Tanis or Tani, your name? I can also butcher it, maybe. Okay.
Taylor. Can you tell me
Yeah.
what your name is in the proper pronunciation?
Don't worry, because my name doesn't have the tone or the tonation here. It is Safako, and I know everybody pronounces it differently. Some people Safako, Safako, whatever. I accept everything because it's not from here. So yeah, my question, this is the second time I'm participating in your presentation. I was part of the first one. I tried to go to your booth. I couldn't find you, but my question is, how involved was the youth in your program? Because I'm the youth coordinator in Vermont, the youth transition. Yeah, and how possible can I do this with the youth, knowing very well that I just want to target the youth?
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's a great question. So all of the programs for healthy community living can be used with anyone. They can be used with youth, they can be used with adults. I think it's often nice when there's like a large range, like an age range within a workshop, because that, like Joelle was kind of touching on earlier, it's fun to have people who have different life experiences and they bring those to the table. So the community living skills program, which is actually not the focus of this project specifically, but is within healthy community living, is more targeted towards youth and is a much more flexible program. So that would be a really nice fit, I think, for like a youth coordinator like yourself. This project, the Partners for Healthy Community Living project, which I should have mentioned, so thank you for bringing this up, is, like I said, a research project. And so for this project specifically, you do need to work with participants who are 18 years old and over, because participants are asked to complete a survey before they complete the workshop and then at the end of the workshop. And in order to participate in research, individuals need to be 18. So for this specific part of it, that you do need to work with consumers who are 18 years or over. But for the healthy community living programs in general, you can work with anyone. And it's, I think one thing that is really nice about the Healthy Community Living project is that the programs are really meant for you to, it gives you kind of a foundation to work from, and you can add things that are specific to your community or add things that are specific to the population that you're working with to help them get a better sense of independent living and meet their independent living goals. Does that help answer your question?
It helps. So drawing from that, if I want something like this to happen, am I the one to start organizing it, or I have to, by attending your training section before, or I can have you work with us in this environment, like in this state? How does it work with you?
You could do either. Another great question. So if you just wanted to do healthy community living at your Center for Independent Living, and you wanted to potentially start a workshop with your youth,
Yes.
You could purchase a license for healthy community living, and you might talk to your director about that. So your organization would purchase the license. It's $500 for the year, which is actually a pretty nice, I think, a pretty nice licensing fee. It used to cost about $200 to get a workbook for just one person. This gives you, we actually have facilitator trainings included on the website. So you can go through a facilitator training for community living skills and living well in the community. So Joelle talked a little bit about that, where Joelle and Casey actually went through the facilitator trainings together and worked through them together online. And then they felt like they were kind of ready to start a workshop, so they started outreach to their consumers. And then, that you kind of get up and running with the workshop. If you're in, we do have some opportunities potentially for healthy community living for people interested in getting more mentorship from us, kind of coming up, but we don't have that in place just yet. But so if you just wanted to start a workshop on your own, the first step would be getting a license, and then really everything that you need to get trained. There's to recruit consumers. It's available on the website, and it walks you through step by step. And then we're also here, and as is April, to provide technical assistance as you need it. Does that help?
Okay,
Yes, so much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
thank you. We have a couple more callers on the phone, and then we'll get to the Q&As. So whenever you're ready, Taylor.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the 520 number. I'm gonna go ahead and give you permission to talk.
Hi, this is Shanique Cotton from AZ Silk in Arizona. I'm pretty much going to piggyback on what the lady just asked. My question is, am I allowed, because we already have this program at Ability 360. I actually took the class myself, participated, and I loved it. But you guys got my mind working right now. I have an organization, United Spinal Association, Arizona United Spinal Association. I'm a new chapter leader here, and I am in the process of having someone create curriculum for me for my health and wellness workshops. Am I allowed to purchase a license for my community, my members? I have over 200 members. Am I allowed to have someone teach this workshop?
Yeah.
Outside of, I didn't know that. I'm definitely going to purchase a license.
That's a great question. You don't have to be a Center for Independent Living to purchase this, these curriculums. Any organization feels like they could use them with their consumers or target audience is welcome to purchase a license. You can train your facilitators. Like I said, the facilitator training is online that goes with it. And then we also have a specific training for helping people become facilitators, just how to facilitate a workshop in general. That's also included. We are targeting Centers for Independent Living because that's who helped us build the Healthy Community Living program, and that's definitely where its roots are. But you don't. Yes. Certainly don't have to be a Center for Independent Living to make use of the program. We would be delighted for other organizations to use it as they see fit.
Oh, I'm so honored. I'm so honored because that's like one of the best programs at Ability 360, and it's like a hit there. So, I'm excited about that. Thank you so much.
Good, thank you. Great question.
Okay, how do I mute myself again, guys? I forgot. How do I mute again?
I will go ahead and do that for you. Thank you so much for your question. I'm going to move on to Pat Morse. Hang on here. Pat Morse, I've just given you permission to start talking if you would like to ask your question.
Pat, you there?
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead.
There we go. I don't have a question. I didn't realize if my hand is raised. That was an error. I apologize. I'm listening avidly, and I really appreciate your information, and I'm looking it up for us to move forward on the healthy community.
Awesome. We like to hear that too.
Pat, do you happen to be Patty at nncil.org?
No, No, I know some folks from Nickel, but that's not me.
Okay.
I work at One Center for Independent Living.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to circle back around to Patty. Just bear with me here, guys.
Well, we are trying to get Patty on the line. If we can't reach her, I'll go to the Q&A box. This is Arius again. We have 3 questions in the Q&A box, but I'll just give Patty a little bit more time. So just let me know when you're ready for me to go to Q&As, Taylor.
Okay, thank you, Arias. Patty, you should have permission to speak. I have also messaged you in the chat. If you would like to ask your question in the chat, or if you would like to ask your question in the Q&A box, you are welcome to type it in there. We'll just give you a few more seconds, and then we will move on to the Q&A box.
She is also muted if she is trying to talk.
And I am sending you requests to unmute. Patty, I don't know if you're getting those notifications on your end.
Here, let's just jump to the Q&A box because we only have 6 minutes, and these are some good questions. So I will start with I'll start with an anonymous attendee, and then I'll go to Beth DeWald because their questions are similar. So it says, anonymous attendee says, so if you are part of the research project, the license is free and participants have to be 18 plus. If you want to include participants under 18 and not be part of the research, the licensing fee is $500 annually. Is that accurate?
Yep, you're nailing it. That is 100% accurate. So for this is the research project is Partners for Healthy Community Living. If you have individuals who want to participate who are 18 years or over, they will be asked to complete surveys and they will need to be 18. But if you have that and you want to do that, then we provide you with the license for Healthy Community Living. We also provide you with weekly support for your facilitators. If you just want to take the program and curriculum and use it as you see fit, which is absolutely an option, and we hope that you would do that too, then there is an annual licensing fee of $500. And that's also covered in the healthycommunityliving.com, or you can email us with other questions. But thank you for asking that question, and that is accurate.
So here's another one from Beth DeWald. It says, how long will the requirement be 18 and over?
So the requirement for using the Healthy Community Living curriculums is you can use the programs as you see fit for anyone you want. If you'd like to participate in this specific research project and receive the Healthy Community Living program for free, then your consumers need to be 18 years or over. So that's only for this specific research project, and this will be going on for about 3 years. So you have some time if you would like to get involved. But if you just want to use the program, you can do that, and people can be any age you'd like. I know this is confusing, so I apologize.
Okay, we have one final question from an anonymous attendee. It says, I apologize, I was a bit delayed in getting on Zoom due to customers in our office. Is there a curriculum for each of these sessions?
Yes. So the curriculum actually goes through, so it's meant to be an 11-week program for about 2 hours a week. And we provide all the curriculum content that will, for the workshop for the entire 2 hours. So there's actually recruitment flyers, we give you all the handouts, we have the facilitator training that's online, there's PowerPoint slides to go with each topic, And then you, as the facilitator, basically familiarize yourself with the content, and then all the discussion questions are included, and it's all set up for you and ready to go.
That was our last question in the Q&A box. I don't see any more. I don't see any hand raised on the phone. Really quickly, since we got 2 minutes, thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to fill out the eval after this session. We just had a question come in really quickly, so I'll get to it real quick. It says it's for SEALs only, correct? Or can other programs who work with this individual with disabilities also participate?
Healthy community living can be for any organization. It can be purchased by anyone. For the Partners for Healthy Community Living project, we currently only have SILs working with us, but if you're another organization who thinks you might be a fit, we could certainly talk about that.
Thank you. I don't see any open questions in the Q&A box. We have 1 minute, so again, don't forget to fill out the eval form after this session. There's great discussion in the chat. Remember, this presentation will be loaded to the website. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful Friday.
Casey, Joel, you want to say any last words?
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.
I think y'all. Tanis, I don't know if you want to drop your email into the chat box right quick for Patty, just in case she still wants to reach out to you and ask that question. I wish that we were able to get her connected.
I know we still have her email, so.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and I'm going to pop over to our table. So Patty, if you're still on, you can join us at the vendor table for the RTC or for Healthy Community Living. Or just go ahead and shoot me an email and we can get your questions answered. Thanks, you guys.
Awesome. Great session. Thank y'all.
Taylor, can you stay on for a bit?
Yes. You bet.
Trying to end the session for all really quickly, but I don't think I can do that.
I wonder if I have, well, wonder if I have to do that since we still have attendees on. Do you want me to end it and then somehow bot back on?
Yes.
Well, if I end meeting for all, I have to exit the meeting too.
It's all right. It's all right. We can just jump back on.
Okay. Okay.